The night Ayla asked me to pay for her and her ex-boyfriend's anniversary dinner, I realized I'd been sleeping next to a cobra for 3 years. But I kept my mouth shut, let her play queen, and planned her dethronement over the appetizer. "Finn, darling," she purred across our marble kitchen island, her manicured fingers dancing across her phone screen. "I need you to cover dinner tonight at Celestial. It's important." I looked up from my coffee, studying her face. Ayla Merris, soon to be Ayla Harlow, if things went according to her plan, was stunning in that calculated way that advertising executives perfected. Every strand of her platinum hair was positioned with surgical precision. Her makeup was flawless, her designer blouse pressed to perfection. "Dinner with who?" I asked, though something in my gut already knew the answer. "Ethan Blackwell. You remember him, right? My colleague from the agency." She didn't meet my eyes. "It's a business thing. Anniversary of our biggest campaign launch. Very important for my career." Ethan Blackwell, her ex-boyfriend from college, the guy she dated for 2 years before we met, the same Ethan who worked at her advertising firm, who she mentioned just a little too often in casual conversation. "How much are we talking?" I kept my voice steady, mechanic's hands wrapped around my mug. "Maybe 300, 4 at most. You know how these places are." She finally looked at me, those green eyes that had hooked me completely when we first met. "If you don't want to help with my career, just say so, Finn." There it was, the manipulation, the subtle threat wrapped in silk. I owned Harlow's Auto Repair downtown, not glamorous, but profitable. My hands were permanently stained with engine oil, and I'd never worn a suit that cost more than $200. Ayla made twice my income at her fancy agency, but somehow I always ended up paying for everything that mattered to her. "Of course I'll help," I said, pulling out my wallet. "Anything for your career." She smiled, the same smile that had convinced me to buy this overpriced condo, to lease her BMW, to pay for her sister Rena's art school tuition when their parents couldn't manage it. "You're the best, baby." She kissed my cheek, leaving a perfect lipstick print. "I'll be home late. Don't wait up." After she left, I sat in that pristine kitchen and made 3 phone calls. First, to my bank. "I need to put a temporary hold on all shared accounts. Yes, I understand the implications." Second, to Celestial Restaurant. "I need to cancel a reservation under Merris for tonight. Also, I'd like to make a new reservation. Table for 2, best view you have." Third, to Rena Veller, Ayla's younger sister. The struggling artist who lived in a cluttered apartment downtown and actually gave a damn about something other than appearances. "Rena, it's Finn. Are you free for dinner tonight? I need a favor, and I think you're going to enjoy this." 2 hours later, I was sitting at the best table in Celestial, watching Ayla and Ethan through the floor-to-ceiling windows. They'd been seated at a cramped table near the kitchen. Apparently their reservation had been mysteriously downgraded. Rena sat across from me, her wild curly hair and paint-stained fingers a stark contrast to the restaurant's elegant atmosphere. She was the only member of Ayla's family who'd ever treated me like more than a walking ATM. "This is delicious," she said, cutting into her steak. "But are you going to tell me why we're spying on my sister?" "Look at them," I said, nodding toward their table. Rena followed my gaze. Ayla and Ethan were leaning close together, his hand covering hers on the white tablecloth. As we watched, he lifted her fingers to his lips and kissed them. "Oh," Rena whispered. "Oh, Finn, I'm so sorry." "Don't be sorry yet," I said, taking a sip of wine. "This is just the beginning." I watched as Ayla's face went pale when the waiter brought their check. She fumbled for her purse, then her phone. I could see her typing frantically. My phone buzzed. A text from Ayla. "Card declined. Can you send money to my account right now? Emergency." I showed the message to Rena, who shook her head in disgust. "What are you going to do?" she asked. I typed back, "Sorry, having dinner. Talk later." Through the window, I watched Ayla's face crumple as she read my response. Ethan was gesturing angrily, clearly frustrated. Other diners were starting to stare as their voices rose. "Finn," Rena said quietly, "what exactly are you planning?" I smiled, the same smile I'd learned from watching Ayla manipulate everyone around her for 3 years. "I'm going to give her exactly what she's been asking for," I said. "A front row seat to see what happens when you bite the hand that feeds you." Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. The waiter at their table was looking uncomfortable now. Ayla was crying, actual tears, not the crocodile tears she used when she wanted something. Ethan was on his phone, probably calling his own bank. My phone rang. Ayla's number. "Should I answer?" I asked Rena. She grinned. "Put it on speaker." I accepted the call. "Hey, babe, having a nice dinner." "Finn, please, I need help. My card isn't working, and Ethan's wallet was stolen from his car. We're stuck here. Can you please transfer some money? I'm begging you." "That's terrible," I said, making my voice sound concerned. "Have you tried calling the police about the stolen wallet?" "What? No, we don't have time for that. Please, just send the money. People are staring." "I'm sure they are. Here's the thing, Ayla. I know this isn't a business dinner." Silence. "I can see you from where I'm sitting. Nice anniversary celebration you're having with your ex-boyfriend." More silence. Then, "You're here?" "Table 12, the one with the view you always complain I never get you." I waved at their table. "Having fun playing house with Ethan?" Ayla's face was white now. Ethan was looking around frantically, trying to spot me. "Finn, I can explain. I'm sure you can. You're very good at explaining things. Like how you needed me to pay for your romantic dinner with another man. Like how this is somehow good for your career. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. And here's what's going to happen. You're going to figure out how to pay your own check. You're going to take your boyfriend home in his car, the one that definitely wasn't broken into. And tomorrow, we're going to have a very different kind of conversation." I hung up and turned to Rena, who was staring at me with something like admiration. "I never knew you had it in you," she said. "Neither did I. But 3 years of being treated like a personal bank account teaches you things." We finished our dinner while watching the drama unfold at table 6. Eventually, Ayla managed to get her credit card working, probably by calling the bank and begging them to increase her limit. They paid and left quickly, Ethan's arm around her shoulders as she sobbed. "What now?" Rena asked as we walked to the parking garage. "Now I go home and wait. She'll come back full of apologies and explanations. She'll promise it was all innocent, that I misunderstood everything." And then? I looked at Rena, this girl who'd been working 3 jobs to pay for art supplies, while her sister spent hundreds on shoes she wore once. Then I show her what a real anniversary looks like. The anniversary of the day she made the biggest mistake of her life. I got home before Ayla did and spent the time productively. 3 years of living with someone teaches you their habits, their passwords, their weaknesses. Ayla thought she was clever, but she used the same password for everything. Ethan A. 2019. The year they'd started dating in college. Her laptop was open on the kitchen counter, still logged into her email. I didn't have to dig deep to find what I was looking for. Email after email between her and Ethan, going back 6 months. Not just friendly workplace correspondence, love letters, plans, and something that made my hands shake with rage. Detailed discussions about my finances, my business, my assets. "The garage is worth at least $400K, one email read, and his personal accounts have another $200K. Once we're married, I'll have access to everything. Then we can finally be together properly." Another one from just last week. "He's so trusting. I could probably clean him out before he even realized what happened. The prenup he wants me to sign is a joke. My lawyer found 6 loopholes already. I took screenshots of everything and emailed them to myself from her account. Then I made another call. Derek, it's Finn. I need a favor, and it involves your security cameras. Derek Kowalski owned the boxing gym next to my garage. We'd been friends since high school, and he was one of the few people who'd never liked Ayla. She's got ice water in her veins, he'd told me once. Pretty as a picture, but cold as January. What kind of favor? Derek asked. The kind where you help me catch a cheater and her boyfriend in the act. Bring your camera equipment. We're going fishing. By the time Ayla's BMW pulled into our driveway, I was sitting in the living room with a glass of whiskey, looking like the picture of a concerned boyfriend. She came in quietly, her makeup repaired, but her eyes still red. Finn, we need to talk. I'm listening. She sat on the couch next to me, taking my hands in hers. Tonight wasn't what it looked like. Ethan and I are working on a presentation for the Morrison account. It's worth millions to the agency. We needed somewhere quiet to discuss strategy. Strategy that involves holding hands and kissing fingers? Her grip tightened. You were watching us? That's really disturbing, Finn. And there it was. The deflection. Make me the villain for catching her in the act. What's disturbing is my fiancé asking me to pay for her date with another man. It wasn't a date. Her voice rose, then she caught herself and softened it. Finn, honey, I love you. I'm marrying you in 3 months. Why would I risk that for anything? Because you're planning to take everything I have and run off with your college boyfriend, I thought. But I just nodded and pulled her close. You're right. I'm sorry. I was jealous and stupid. She relaxed against me. It's okay. I understand. But you have to trust me. I do trust you, I lied. Completely. The next morning, Ayla left for work humming. She thought she'd won, that her tears and explanations had fixed everything. She had no idea I'd spent the night forwarding her emails to a very interesting recipient. At 10 a.m., my phone rang. Mr. Harlow, this is Janet Carmichael from Pinnacle Advertising. I'm Ayla's supervisor. I think we need to talk. 2 hours later, I was sitting in Ms. Carmichael's glass office on the 30th floor of downtown's newest skyscraper. She was a sharp-featured woman in her 50s, with the kind of presence that made junior executives sweat. These emails you forwarded, she said, tapping her computer screen. They're quite concerning. I thought you should know what your employees are planning. Ayla and Ethan are both married. Well, Ayla's engaged, and Ethan has a wife and 2 children. She leaned back in her chair. This kind of behavior reflects poorly on our company. I'm sure it does. There's also the matter of confidential client information being discussed in personal emails, the Morrison account details, specifically. I hadn't noticed that part, but I nodded as if I had. What exactly do you want me to do with this information, Mr. Harlow? That's entirely up to you, Ms. Carmichael. I just thought you should know what kind of people you have representing your company. She smiled, a cold, corporate smile that reminded me why I preferred working with engines instead of people. I appreciate your concern for our company's reputation. Rest assured, this matter will be handled appropriately. I left her office feeling lighter than I had in months. Phase 2 was in motion. My phone buzzed as I reached the parking garage. A text from Rena. Coffee? I have news. We met at a small cafe near her apartment. She looked excited, her eyes bright with mischief. I did what you asked, she said, sliding a small device across the table. Recording app on Ayla's phone. I borrowed it while she was in the shower yesterday. What did you find? 3 hours of conversations with Ethan. Want to hear the highlights? She pulled out her own phone and hit play. Ayla's voice filled the air through earbuds we shared. The wedding's in 3 months, but I don't think we should wait that long. Finn's getting suspicious. Ethan's voice. My divorce lawyer says I need to be careful. If Sarah finds out about us before the papers are signed, she'll take everything. We could disappear together. Take Finn's money and go somewhere they'll never find us. South America, maybe, or Southeast Asia, somewhere without extradition treaties. I pulled out the earbuds. Extradition treaties? Rena nodded grimly. It gets worse. They're not just planning to steal your money, Finn. They're planning to frame you for embezzling from your own business. Make it look like you've been cooking the books, then disappear while you're dealing with the legal mess. The cafe around us seemed to fade away. 3 years of my life. 3 years of love, trust, and planning a future together. All of it had been a lie from the beginning. There's more, Rena said quietly. About me. What about you? She's been using my student loans as a cover. Every time you gave her money for my tuition, she kept most of it. I've been working those 3 jobs because I thought you were only covering half my expenses. She's been pocketing thousands. I stared at her, sweet, hard-working Rena, who'd been thanking me for years for help I thought I was giving, but that she'd never actually received. How much? I asked. About $30,000 over 2 years. $30,000. Money I'd worked overtime to earn, thinking I was helping someone I cared about pursue her dreams. I'm going to destroy her, I said quietly. Rena reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Not just her, both of them. And I'm going to help you do it. Why? Because she's my sister and I love her. But what she's doing to you, what she's been doing to both of us, it's evil. She needs to face consequences. I looked at this girl who was everything her sister pretended to be. Honest, loyal, genuine. What did you have in mind? She smiled, and for the first time I saw a family resemblance that had nothing to do with looks. I think it's time Ethan's wife learned what her husband's been up to. Sarah Blackwell was a pediatric nurse who worked 12-hour shifts at Children's Hospital. She had kind eyes and laugh lines, and when she opened her apartment door to find me standing there with a manila envelope, she looked genuinely puzzled. Can I help you? Mrs. Blackwell, my name is Finn Harlow. I think we need to talk about your husband. Her face changed. The kindness remained, but wariness crept in around the edges. What about Ethan? May I come in? What I have to show you. You'll want to sit down. She led me into a living room decorated with children's artwork and family photos. 2 kids, maybe 8 and 10, grinned from every surface alongside pictures of what had once been a happy family. The kids are at school, she said, settling into an armchair. Whatever this is about, please just tell me. I handed her the envelope. I'm engaged to a woman named Ayla Merris. She works with your husband. These are emails between them, going back 6 months. Sarah's hands trembled as she read. I watched her face cycle through confusion, hurt, anger, and finally, a cold determination that reminded me of her husband's boss. How long have you known? She asked. I found out 3 days ago. I'm sorry, Mrs. Blackwell. I thought you deserved to know. She set the papers aside and looked at me directly. What do you want from me? Nothing. I just thought, if someone was planning to destroy my life, I'd want to know about it. And you're planning to destroy theirs. It wasn't a question. Yes, I said. I am. She nodded slowly. Good. How can I help? 2 days later, Pinnacle Advertising held its monthly company mixer at the Riverside Hotel. Ayla had been excited about it for weeks, a chance to network, to show off her engagement ring, to play the part of the successful executive with the devoted blue-collar fiancé. I arrived at 7 p.m. wearing my best suit and a smile that didn't reach my eyes. The hotel ballroom was full of advertising people drinking expensive wine and talking about campaigns and clients. Ayla spotted me immediately and rushed over. Finn, you made it! She kissed my cheek, her breath already wine-sweet. Come meet everyone. She led me around the room, introducing me as her fiancé, the successful business owner. I smiled and shook hands and made small talk about the economy and local sports teams. Everyone was polite, but I could see them cataloging my discount suit, my working man's hands, my obvious discomfort in their world. Ethan was across the room with a group of junior executives, playing the part of the devoted family man. His wedding ring caught the light as he gestured, telling some story that had everyone laughing. At 8:30, the hotel's AV system crackled to life. "Ladies and gentlemen," the DJ announced, "we have a special presentation this evening." The lights dimmed, and a projection screen descended from the ceiling. Ayla looked confused, glancing around for whoever had arranged this surprise. The first slide appeared, a love story in elegant script. "Aw, how sweet," someone said. "Who's getting married?" The second slide, a photo of Ayla and Ethan at dinner, holding hands across a candlelit table. The room went quiet. The third slide, another photo, this one of them kissing in the parking garage outside the office building. Ayla's wine glass slipped from her fingers and shattered on the marble floor. The fourth slide, screenshots of their emails, enlarged so everyone in the room could read them. The love letters, the financial planning, the discussion of extradition treaties. "Turn it off!" Ethan shouted, pushing through the crowd toward the AV booth. "Turn it off right now!" But the presentation continued. More emails, more photos, audio clips of their recorded phone conversations, played through the hotel's sound system. "The wedding's in 3 months, but I don't think we should wait that long. Finn's getting suspicious." Every person in that room could hear Ayla's voice, clear as crystal, planning to steal from the man she claimed to love. "My divorce lawyer says I need to be careful. If Sarah finds out about us before the papers are signed, she'll take everything." Ethan's voice now, equally clear, equally damning. People were staring. Some were taking pictures with their phones. Others were backing away from Ayla and Ethan as if betrayal might be contagious. The final slide, "Congratulations on your anniversary, Finn Harlow." The lights came up. The room was silent, except for the sound of Ayla sobbing and Ethan cursing as he tried to reach the AV booth. Ms. Carmichael appeared at my elbow. "Effective immediately," she announced to the room. "Both Ms. Merris and Mr. Blackwell are terminated from Pinnacle Advertising." "You can't do this," Ayla screamed. "This is a private matter." "Using company email for personal correspondence is a fireable offense," Ms. Carmichael replied calmly. "Discussing confidential client information in those emails is grounds for legal action. Security will escort you both from the building." 2 hotel security guards materialized as if summoned. Ayla looked around the room desperately, seeking support, finding only stares and whispered conversations. "Finn," she said, reaching for me. "Finn, please. We can work this out." I stepped back. "There's nothing to work out, Ayla. You made your choice 6 months ago. I never meant for any of this to happen. I love you." "No," I said quietly. "You love my bank account. There's a difference." Ethan was being escorted toward the exit, his face purple with rage. "This isn't over, Harlow. You have no idea what you've started." "Actually," I said, "I know exactly what I've started, and I know exactly how it's going to end." As security led them away, the party slowly resumed around me. People approached to offer condolences, to ask questions, to distance themselves from the scandal. I accepted their sympathy and answered their questions and watched them file away this cautionary tale about workplace affairs and public humiliation. My phone buzzed. A text from Rena. "Phase 3 complete. Ethan's car has 4 flat tires and a very colorful message spray-painted on the windshield. Sarah's at the hotel with divorce papers. How did the party go?" I looked around the ballroom, at the broken glass being swept up, at the whispered conversations and shocked faces. "Better than expected," I texted back. "Meet me at the garage tomorrow. We need to plan the finale." Ayla came home at midnight, her makeup ruined and her designer dress wrinkled. I was waiting in the living room, still wearing my suit, a glass of whiskey in my hand. "We need to talk," she said. "I'm listening." She sat across from me, not beside me this time. The distance felt appropriate. "What you did tonight was cruel." What you've been doing for 6 months was worse. I made mistakes, I admit that. But destroying my career, humiliating me in front of everyone I work with, that was vindictive. I took a sip of whiskey and studied her face. Even now, even caught red-handed, she was trying to make herself the victim. You were planning to steal everything I own and disappear to South America with your boyfriend. Forgive me if I don't feel sympathy for your career prospects. I never would have gone through with it. The emails say otherwise. Those were just fantasies, stupid talk. I would never actually… Ayla. I set down my glass. Stop, just stop lying. We both know what you were planning. She was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was different, smaller, more honest than I'd heard it in months. I do love you, Finn. Maybe not the way you deserve, but I do love you. I know you do. In your way. Then why can't we work through this? People make mistakes. Couples survive affairs. Because it wasn't just an affair. You weren't just cheating on me emotionally or physically. You were planning to destroy my entire life, my business, my savings, my reputation, all of it. Tears started down her cheeks. Real ones this time, not the calculated crying she used for manipulation. What happens now? Now you pack your things and leave. Tonight. Where am I supposed to go? I don't have a job anymore. I don't have any money. You have $30,000 that you stole from me while pretending to help your sister. That should get you started. Her face went white. How did you… Rena and I had a conversation. She's been working 3 jobs because she thought I was only covering half her tuition. Imagine her surprise when she learned you'd been pocketing the rest. Finn, please. Pack your things, Ayla. Don't make this harder than it has to be. She went upstairs, and I heard drawers opening and closing, hangers sliding across rods. It took her 2 hours to pack 3 years of her life into suitcases. When she came back down, she looked like a different person. Smaller, somehow. Deflated. I'm sorry, she said, for all of it. I know you don't believe me, but I am sorry. I believe you're sorry you got caught. She flinched, but didn't argue. What about Ethan? What about him? Are you going to keep coming after us? I stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the city lights. That depends. On what? On whether you disappear quietly or whether you try to cause more problems for me. We'll disappear, I promise. Good. Because if you don't, if you try to come back or cause trouble or damage my business in any way, what happened tonight will seem like a friendly conversation. She left without another word, dragging her suitcases to her BMW. I watched from the window as she loaded them into the trunk, as she sat in the driver's seat for several minutes with her head in her hands, as she finally started the engine and drove away. My phone rang immediately. She's gone, Rena's voice said. I've been watching from across the street. Are you okay? I'm fine, better than fine. What about Ethan? What about him? Sarah served him with divorce papers at the hotel. He's been calling Ayla's phone all night, screaming about how this is all your fault. Let him scream. Finn, I think he might try something. He was talking about revenge, about making you pay for ruining his life. His life was already ruined. He just didn't know it yet. I'm serious. He was drunk and angry, and he kept talking about how you don't know who you're messing with. I considered this. Ethan Blackwell was a soft corporate type, who'd probably never been in a real fight in his life, but desperate people did desperate things. Where is he now? The Riverside Hotel. Same place as the party. Sarah said he's been staying there since she kicked him out last week. Keep an eye on him. If he tries anything stupid, call me immediately. What are you going to do? Whatever I have to. The next morning, Derek called me at the garage. Your boy Ethan was here an hour ago, he said. Looking for you. What did he want? To rearrange your face, from what I could tell. He was drunk, angry, making all kinds of threats. I told him you weren't here and suggested he might want to sober up before he did something stupid. How did he take that advice? About as well as you'd expect. He tried to push past me into the garage. I convinced him that was a bad idea. Derek was 6'4" and had been a semi-professional boxer before he opened the gym. I could imagine how that conversation had gone. Where is he now? Probably back at the hotel, licking his wounds. But Finn, this guy's not stable. Whatever you did to him, he's taking it personal. He made it personal when he decided to help my fiancée steal my life savings. I'm not saying you were wrong. I'm saying be careful. Desperate people do desperate things. The same thing Rena had said. Maybe I should have listened. That afternoon, Ethan showed up at the garage while I was working on a transmission. I heard the door chime and looked up to see him standing in the entrance, swaying slightly, his expensive suit wrinkled and stained. Finn Harlow, he said, his words slurred. The mechanic who thinks he's smarter than everyone else. I wiped my hands on a rag and stood up slowly. You're drunk, Ethan. Go home. I don't have a home anymore, thanks to you. My wife threw me out. My kids won't talk to me. I lost my job. All because you couldn't handle the fact that your woman preferred a better man. My woman preferred my bank account. There's a difference. He took a step forward, his hands clenched into fists. You think you won? You think ruining my life makes you the victor here? I think actions have consequences. You and Ayla made your choices. Now you're living with the results. I'm going to destroy you, he said. I'm going to take everything you have, everything you care about, and I'm going to burn it to the ground. With what? You're unemployed, divorced, and drunk. What exactly are you going to do to me? He smiled then, a cold expression that didn't reach his eyes. I know people, important people who can make your life very difficult. Important people like your ex-boss who fired you for corporate espionage? His face flushed red. You have no idea what you're dealing with. I'm dealing with a pathetic man who got caught cheating and can't handle the consequences. He lunged at me then, swinging wildly with his right hand. I stepped aside and let his momentum carry him into a workbench. He bounced off and stumbled backward, cursing. Go home, Ethan. Sober up. Try to salvage what's left of your life. This isn't over. Yes, it is. It's been over since the moment you decided to betray your wife and help Ayla betray me. You just haven't accepted it yet. He left, but not before kicking over a tool cart and screaming more threats. I watched him stumble to his car, a rental, since his BMW was still in the shop getting the spray paint removed from the windshield, and drive away erratically. I called Derek. He just left here, drunk, angry, making threats. Can you keep an eye on the street tonight? Already planned on it. This guy's not done yet. Derek was right. At 3 a.m., my security system woke me with an alert. Someone was in the garage. I grabbed a flashlight and a wrench and made my way downstairs. The motion sensors had triggered, but whoever was inside had turned off the main lights. I could hear movement in the back office, the sound of papers rustling and drawers being opened. Building's under surveillance, I called out. Police are already on their way. The sounds stopped. Come out now and we can discuss this like adults. A crash from the office, like someone had thrown something heavy. I made my way toward the back, flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. The office door was open, and I could see a figure hunched over my desk, going through files. Find what you're looking for? Ethan spun around, a stack of papers in his hands. In the flashlight beam, his face looked haggard, desperate. Financial records, he said. Tax documents. I'm going to prove you've been laundering money through this place. With what? Legitimate business records? I'll find something. There's always something. The only thing you're going to find is a breaking and entering charge. You destroyed my life. You destroyed your own life. I just made sure everyone knew about it. He threw the papers at me and ran for the back door. I let him go. Let him run back to his hotel room, back to his bottle, back to whatever delusions were keeping him functional. But I made another phone call. Rena, it's Finn. We need to accelerate the timeline. Ethan's getting desperate, and desperate people are dangerous. What do you want me to do? Remember that finale we discussed? It's time. The Riverside Hotel's penthouse restaurant had a spectacular view of the city, floor-to-ceiling windows, white tablecloths, and prices that made most people wince. It was exactly the kind of place Ayla had always wanted me to take her, but that I'd always considered overpriced and pretentious. Tonight, it was perfect. I'd reserved the private dining room for 8 p.m. and invited a very specific guest list. Sarah Blackwell, Ms. Carmichael from Pinnacle Advertising, 3 of Ayla's former colleagues who'd been at the company party, 2 reporters from the business section of the city newspaper, and Rena, who'd been instrumental in orchestrating this final act. Ayla and Ethan didn't know about the dinner party. They thought they were meeting me for a private conversation, a chance to negotiate some kind of truce. The invitation had been carefully worded to suggest I was ready to discuss terms, maybe even compensation for the damage I'd caused to their reputations. They arrived separately, Ayla first, looking nervous in a black dress that probably cost more than most people's rent. Ethan 5 minutes later, trying to project confidence but failing to hide the desperation in his eyes. "Finn," Ayla said, as they were seated at the main table. "Thank you for agreeing to meet with us. Thank you for coming." Ethan looked around the elegant dining room. "Nice place, expensive. I thought you'd appreciate it. You always did like the finer things." "What do you want?" Ethan asked bluntly. "Your message said you wanted to discuss terms." "I do, but first I think we should wait for the other guests to arrive." "Other guests?" Ayla's face went pale. "What other guests?" "People who have a stake in this situation. People who deserve to hear the whole story." The door opened and Sarah Blackwell walked in. She'd traded her nurse's scrubs for a simple blue dress, and she looked composed, dignified. "Sarah," Ethan whispered, "what are you doing here?" "I was invited," she said, taking a seat at the table. "Hello, Ethan. You look terrible." Ms. Carmichael arrived next, followed by the 3 Pinnacle employees and the 2 reporters. Everyone took their seats around the large table, creating a circle with Ayla and Ethan at the center. "What is this?" Ayla demanded. "Some kind of trial?" "Think of it as a dinner party," I said. "A chance for everyone to share their experiences and perspectives." "I'm leaving." Ethan started to stand. "Sit down," Sarah said quietly. "You owe me that much." He sat. I stood up and looked around the table. 3 months ago, I thought I was the luckiest man in the world. I was engaged to a beautiful, successful woman who seemed to love me. I was planning a wedding, a future, a life with someone I trusted completely. Ayla was staring at her hands. Then I discovered that everything I believed was a lie. My fiancé was having an affair with a married man. They were planning to steal my money and disappear together. They were discussing extradition treaties and fake embezzlement charges. "We never would have gone through with it," Ayla said quietly. "The emails suggest otherwise. Should I read them aloud?" She shook her head. I turned to Sarah. "Mrs. Blackwell, would you like to share your experience?" Sarah looked directly at her husband. 22 years of marriage, 2 children. I thought we were happy. I thought we were building something together. Her voice was steady, controlled. "I was wrong." "Sarah," Ethan started. "Don't. You don't get to speak to me anymore except through lawyers." I looked at Ms. Carmichael. "And you've had to deal with the professional fallout." "Corporate espionage," she said crisply. "Misuse of company resources, violation of confidentiality agreements. Both Mr. Blackwell and Ms. Merris caused significant damage to our company's reputation." One of the reporters was taking notes. The other was recording on her phone. "The question," I continued, "is what happens now? What consequences should people face when they betray the people who trust them?" "You've already destroyed our lives," Ethan said. "Isn't that enough?" "Have I? Let's see." Ayla, you lost your job, but you have $30,000 in stolen money to tide you over. Ethan, you lost your job and your family, but you're a talented executive. You'll find another position eventually. No one will hire us after what you did, Ayla said. What I did was tell the truth. If the truth is damaging to your reputation, maybe you should have considered that before you decided to lie and cheat and steal. Rena spoke for the first time. Tell them about the money. I smiled. Ah, yes, the money. Ayla, you might want to check your bank balance. She fumbled for her phone, fingers shaking as she accessed her banking app. Her face went white. Where is it? Where's my money? You mean my money? The money you stole while pretending to help your sister pay for school? You can't just take it. I didn't take it, I donated it. $30,000 to the Children's Hospital Scholarship Fund, in honor of Sarah Blackwell's years of service. Sarah looked surprised. You didn't have to. It seemed appropriate. Money stolen from one family helping other families in need. Ayla was crying now, real tears of desperation and fear. How am I supposed to live? I don't have anything. You have the same thing everyone else has when they're starting over. A chance to make better choices. Ethan was staring at me with pure hatred. You think you're so righteous. You think you're the hero of this story. I don't think I'm a hero. I think I'm someone who got tired of being a victim. This is revenge, pure and simple. Yes, it is, and it's proportional. You tried to destroy my life, so I destroyed your credibility. You tried to steal my money, so I made sure you can't profit from your crimes. You tried to humiliate me, so I returned the favor. The reporter looked up from her notes. Mr. Harlow, some people might say your response was excessive. Some people might say that planning to frame someone for embezzlement while stealing their life savings is excessive. I'll let readers judge for themselves. I sat back down and looked around the table. This dinner represents the end of something, the end of lies and manipulation and betrayal. Tomorrow, we all move on with our lives. Some of us will rebuild. Some of us will learn from our mistakes. Some of us will face the consequences of our choices. What about forgiveness? Ayla asked quietly. What about second chances? Forgiveness is earned. Second chances are earned. You haven't earned either. The dinner continued for another hour. Sarah talked about rebuilding her life as a single mother. Ms. Carmichael discussed the importance of corporate ethics. The reporters asked questions about justice and revenge and the difference between the two. Ayla and Ethan sat in silence, occasionally whispering to each other, looking like defendants waiting for a verdict. Finally, as dessert was being served, Ethan stood up. I have something to say. The table went quiet. You want to know about consequences, about justice? Fine. Finn Harlow thinks he's won something here. He thinks he's taught us a lesson. He looked around the table, his face flushed with anger and alcohol. But here's what he doesn't understand. This isn't over. This will never be over. Every day for the rest of his life, he's going to wonder what we're planning, what we're doing, how we're going to get back at him. Ethan, Sarah said quietly, stop. No. He wants to play games? He wants to destroy people's lives? Let's see how he likes looking over his shoulder for the next 20 years. I stood up slowly. Are you threatening me? I'm promising you. This isn't justice. This is just the beginning. The room was completely silent now. Even the reporters had stopped taking notes. I walked around the table until I was standing directly in front of Ethan. He was taller than me, but I'd spent my life working with my hands, and he'd spent his in an office chair. Let me make something very clear, I said quietly. If you ever threaten me again, if you ever come near my business or my friends or my family, if you ever try to cause problems for me in any way, I will finish what we started tonight. You can't do anything worse than what you've already done. I can do much worse. Tonight was about justice. If you force me to continue this, it will be about something else entirely. He stared at me for a long moment, trying to project defiance, but I could see the fear behind his eyes. Come on, Ayla, he said finally. Let's go. She stood up reluctantly. Finn, Goodbye, Ayla. They left together, whispering urgently as they walked toward the elevators. Sarah watched them go. Do you think they'll cause more trouble? Ethan might try. Ayla's smart enough to disappear and start over somewhere else. And if he does try something? I looked out the window at the city lights, at the life I'd built and nearly lost to people who saw me as nothing more than a source of money. Then I'll handle it. The dinner party ended an hour later. People said their goodbyes, exchanged contact information, made plans to stay in touch. The reporters promised to handle the story fairly, to focus on the broader themes of trust and betrayal, rather than sensationalizing the personal details. Rena was the last to leave. How do you feel? She asked as we waited for the elevator. Tired, relieved, empty maybe. Any regrets? I thought about it. 3 years of my life, gone. A relationship I'd believed in, revealed as a lie. Money lost, trust broken, plans destroyed. No, I said finally. No regrets. What happens now? Now I go back to work. I fix engines, I pay my bills, I live my life. Alone? For now. Maybe not forever. The elevator arrived, and we rode down in comfortable silence. In the lobby, Rena hugged me goodbye. Thank you, she said. For what? For showing me that actions have consequences. For proving that good people don't have to be victims. I watched her walk to her car, this young woman who'd helped me reclaim my life and my dignity. Then I got in my truck and drove home to the condo that was finally, truly mine. The next morning, I opened Harlow's Auto Repair at 7 a.m., just like always. I had 3 cars to finish and 2 new customers coming in for estimates. Normal work, honest work. The kind of life I'd built before Ayla Merris decided I was her ticket to easy money. My phone rang at 10 a.m., Derek's number. Your boy Ethan was back this morning, he said, sitting in his car across the street, watching your place. How long? About an hour. He left when I walked over to have a conversation with him. What kind of conversation? The kind where I suggested he might want to find a new hobby. I smiled. Thanks. No problem. But Finn, this guy's not going to give up easy. Whatever you did to him, he's taking it personal. Let him. I'm not hiding from Ethan Blackwell or anyone else. Just be careful. I'm always careful. But I wasn't careful enough. That night someone threw a brick through my front window. The next morning my truck had 4 slashed tires. The day after that, someone called the health department with anonymous complaints about my shop. Ethan was keeping his promise. He was making my life difficult. One petty act of vandalism at a time. I could have called the police. I could have installed more security cameras, hired a guard, turned my life into a fortress. Instead, I made a different choice. I drove to the Riverside Hotel at midnight and walked into the bar where Ethan had been drinking away his sorrows every night since the dinner party. He was there, hunched over a whiskey, looking like a man who'd lost everything and had nothing left to lose. Hello, Ethan. He looked up, his eyes red and unfocused. Come to gloat? Come to end this. It'll end when I say it ends. I sat down next to him at the bar. No, it'll end now. Tonight. One way or another. You threatening me? I'm offering you a choice. Walk away. Leave town. Start over somewhere else. Put this behind you and try to build something new. Or what? Or I stop playing defense and start playing offense. And trust me, you don't want to see what that looks like. He laughed, a bitter sound. You think I'm afraid of you? I think you should be. He turned to face me fully, swaying slightly on his bar stool. You destroyed my marriage. You destroyed my career. You took everything I had. What else can you do to me? I can make sure you never work in advertising again, in any city, at any company. I can make sure every potential employer knows exactly what kind of person you are. You already did that. I can do worse. I can make sure your children know what their father really is, I can make sure your ex-wife gets everything in the divorce settlement. I can make sure your name becomes synonymous with betrayal and failure." His face went pale. "You wouldn't try me." We stared at each other for a long moment. Around us, the hotel bar continued its late-night rhythm of clinking glasses and quiet conversations. "What do you want?" he asked finally. "I want you to disappear. I want you to leave town and never come back. I want you to stop vandalizing my property and harassing my friends. I want you to accept that you lost and move on with whatever's left of your life. And if I do that, then this ends here. No more revenge, no more payback. You disappear, and I let you stay disappeared." He finished his whiskey and set the glass down carefully. "You really think you won, don't you?" "I know I won." He stood up, threw some money on the bar, and looked at me one last time. "Maybe you did," he said. "But winning doesn't make you the good guy." "I never said I was the good guy. I just said I was tired of being the victim." He walked away without another word. I watched him leave, then ordered a whiskey of my own and sat in the quiet bar, thinking about justice and revenge and the difference between the two. 3 days later, Rena called me. "Ethan's gone," she said. "Checked out of the hotel, turned in his rental car. Sarah says he left town without telling anyone where he was going." "Good. What about Ayla? What about her?" "She's been asking around, trying to find someone who'll hire her. No luck so far. That's not my problem anymore. She's broke, Finn, living in a motel, working at a coffee shop downtown. Still not my problem." "I know, I just thought you should know." I hung up and went back to work. I had an engine to rebuild, a transmission to replace, a business to run. Ayla Merris and Ethan Blackwell were part of my past now, a cautionary tale about trust and betrayal and the price of both. 6 months later, Derek and I were having a beer after work when he brought up the subject one last time. "Ever wonder what happened to them?" "No." "Really?" I thought about it honestly. Sometimes, but not often. "Any regrets about how it all went down?" "You mean, do I regret exposing 2 people who were planning to steal my life savings and frame me for embezzlement? I mean, do you regret being so thorough about it?" I looked out the window of Derek's office, watching the city go about its evening business. Somewhere out there, Ayla was probably still working at that coffee shop, still struggling to rebuild her life. Somewhere else, Ethan was probably doing the same thing. "No," I said finally. "I don't regret it." "Why not?" "Because they made their choices. They decided to lie, to cheat, to steal, to betray people who trusted them. I just made sure they faced consequences for those choices. Some people would say you went too far. Some people would say they didn't go far enough in the first place." Derek nodded and took a sip of his beer. "Fair enough." We sat in comfortable silence for a while. 2 friends who'd known each other long enough to understand that some conversations didn't need to be finished. Finally, Derek spoke again. "So what now?" "Now I go home, get some sleep, and come back tomorrow to fix more engines. That's it?" "That's it." "Sounds boring." I smiled. After the last year, boring sounds perfect. I finished my beer, said goodbye to Derek, and drove home to my condo. It was quiet, clean, and completely mine. No lies, no manipulation, no hidden agendas, just the life I'd built with my own hands and my own choices. I made dinner, watched the news, and went to bed early. Tomorrow there would be more work, more customers, more of the ordinary life I'd almost lost to people who saw me as nothing more than a means to an end. But tonight, for the first time in months, I slept peacefully. The dinner bill had finally been paid in full,